NSFW, men of Reddit, what's the greatest realization you've had during post-nut clarity? That I was in a really toxic relationship. I was with the same girl for over 5 years, started in high school, so I'd never had an intimate relationship with anyone else. I was always very attracted to her and we'd had some great times early on, but our relationship had long ago turned one-sided. Everything I was getting out of this was what I alone was putting into it. This girl also had, essentially, a non-existent sex drive. Which is fine, of course. That's not some error or problem on her part. Everyone deserves to do what they feel comfortable with if they ever feel comfortable with it, and don't owe anyone anything more. The problem was how she responded to my sex drive. In 5 years we'd had sex maybe 15 times, and every single one became her go-to reminder for the next few months of how much she did for me, how selfless she was. I left jokes in her lunches that I packed every day. I bought her flowers and gifts at random just because I was thinking of her when I was at the store. I asked her once if she could start complimenting me more. Words of affirmation is my greatest love language. She said that felt uncomfortable. She didn't even remember to get me a Christmas present last year. But hey, I let you get laid last month became a regular sentiment. If I mentioned to her that I was feeling aroused, or told her how beautiful she was, she shrugged it off and made me feel like I was ceaselessly horny. I'd been scared of this relationship failing for 5 years. I knew there were things I was unhappy with, but it seemed more comfortable to come home to a 6/10 happiness than try to go out and find something higher. But then you nut, and your head clears. And I look down at the woman who refuses any position but missionary, with whom foreplay or nudity is never allowed, and she's frowning. I know the last 2 minutes will be thrown at me for months to come. This relationship just ended. I don't wish her ill for anything about her libido. But I'll be heartbroken for a while knowing how much I shamed myself for being attracted to my girlfriend and wanting to be intimate with her. How much I made myself feel that was wrong and I was perverted and insatiable. Edit. The gilding is so incredibly kind. It breaks my heart there are so many who have had similar experiences, but starts to mend it seeing the kindness from everyone here. Had a relationship like this, and it messed me up for a long time after with other women. It'll get better, and you're the 9th of October 10 happiness is out there. I've been the girl in that situation. Being touched makes me uncomfortable, and I'm not very verbally or physically affectionate. My feelings of guilt about being this way have always been correspondent to how much I love my partner. I would spin myself in circles trying to find other ways to show them that I cared. There are ways of showing love for all types of people, and it honestly doesn't sound like she was trying. You were there for the person you loved the most. That's not a bad thing. It's really that she didn't even get me a Christmas present last year that gets me. I have a friend who is asexual, and so her and her fiancé have way less sex and are way less physically intimate than a lot of couples. But he is fine with this enough to want to marry her, because she often worries about making sure she shows him she loves him in ways that don't involve physical touch. She doesn't hold the act of having sex with him over his head like some act of a benevolent god just because it's not her favorite thing in the world. Now, I'm not saying this would work for everybody, especially people who have physical touch as one of their highest aforementioned love languages. But there can definitely be a loving relationship with less than average sex if both partners have other ways of showing love. She doesn't hold the act of having sex with him over his head like some act of a benevolent god. Anyone who does this is immediately trash and needs help. Bro, I've literally been in that 5-year relationship and I got cheated on and dumped in the end. You'll meet women who will treat you like you're a diamond in the rough. From now on you will only date these kinds of women because they do exist and they will treat you how you'd want to be treated. Never forget that. 3 months after a breakup, my ex was trying to reconcile, and I was seriously considering it. I was seeing a guy, and the sex was great but I knew he was way more serious than I was. I honestly didn't know what to do. After sex, he curls up next to me and says leave if you still love him. I would rather see you happy than possess you. Ask yourself if you could say the same thing about him. He was right. But I needed that insight to realize my ex was more about possessing me than actually being in love with me. I followed that wise, loving man across the country, and never regretted it, not even after we eventually broke up. Wherever he is, I hope he's blissfully happy. My lord, did you have sex with Jesus? I feel attractive to him and I'm straight lol. I followed that wise, loving man across the country, and never regretted it. Sounds like him. This is beautiful. I hope you, too, are blissfully happy now, or at least on your way.